London is one of the most iconic cities in the Northern Hemisphere. Home to landmarks like the Tower of London, Buckingham Palace and the famous River Thames, it draws millions of visitors every year. Heathrow, the UK's largest and busiest airport, handled more than 80 million passengers in 2024, and that number is only expected to grow in the coming years. But there's a catch. Heathrow Airport can't cope. So, as the city's population continues to rise, more people are travelling through Heathrow than ever before. And with the threat of overcrowding looming over London's biggest airport, a new £15 billion or $19 billion project has just been approved, aimed at expanding Heathrow's capacity and ensuring it can continue to serve as a global hub for years to come. The plan includes a new runway and terminal and promises to increase the number of flights, reduce delays, and provide much-needed relief to the airport's overstretched terminals. However, the project has sparked controversy, and with concerns over environmental impact, noise pollution, and the disruption to surrounding communities, it's a development that has divided opinions. On top of that, building something this big in the middle of a live airport is no easy task. So, with the city's aviation sector on the brink of collapse, can this £15 billion project save the UK from an aviation disaster? This is how London is expanding Europe's busiest airport. Originally called London Airport, Heathrow was first opened in 1946 as a civilian airfield. Fast forward to today, Heathrow boasts 4 terminals, 115 gates and 2 runways, handling roughly 85 million passengers every year. But the airfield is currently operating at 98% capacity, leaving almost no room to handle delays or add more routes, and leading to airlines routinely trading takeoff and landing slots for tens of millions of pounds, pushing ticket prices up. And that's a problem for an airport serving one of the world's largest financial hubs.
The third runway at Heathrow would unlock further growth, boost investment, increase exports, and make the UK more open and more connected.
Without this expansion, London risks losing its place as a global aviation hub, while cities like Paris and Frankfurt pull ahead. All of that's why Heathrow is spending nearly £15 billion on a new expansion master plan. Some of the key projects include a whole new terminal, new roads and taxiways, and perhaps most importantly, a new runway. Currently, Heathrow only operates 2 runways, making it the busiest dual runway airport in the world. And when compared with Denver's 6 and Dallas-Fort Worth's 7, it's clear why Heathrow is so constrained by runway capacity. The new runway will be 3.5 kilometres long, 60 metres wide, and located northwest of the airport. It'll sit 1,035 metres from the current northern runway, allowing all 3 to operate simultaneously. New bypass taxiways will be built around the central runway to ease congestion and improve aircraft movement in the north-south corridor of the airfield. All of this construction will take place on new land, so existing buildings will need to be demolished, electricity lines will be placed underground, and the terrain will be levelled. A new terminal, called Terminal 5X, will also be constructed and connected to the west of Terminal 5, along with new supporting taxiways. Later on, Terminal 5X will be expanded with a remote northern terminal area, called Terminal 5X North, between the existing central runway and the new northern runway. These 2 terminals will be linked by an underground rail system and walkway. Meanwhile, Terminal 2 will be extended with 2 new satellites, increasing its capacity to 52 million passengers per year. On the ground, the M25 motorway will be diverted into a tunnel under the new northern runway, as well as the deconstruction or relocation of several smaller roads. Several rivers and smaller streams will also need to be diverted, realigned or bridged to prevent potential flooding in the surrounding areas. Heathrow also aims to double its existing cargo capacity by redeveloping the existing cargo facilities to the south of the airfield. Additional freight warehouses will also be built immediately south of the airport, with easy access to the cargo hub. These facilities will be connected directly to the M25 to increase efficiency and minimise unnecessary congestion to nearby residential areas. And to support the increased capacity in Terminal 2, a new southern road tunnel to the central terminal area will also be constructed, along with a new parking lot south of the airport. If all goes to plan, Heathrow could see passenger numbers rise to 130 million per year by the end of 2040, roughly a 60% increase from today. As well as construction on the Heathrow site, external logistics hubs will be used to pre-build some parts of the project before transporting them in consolidated loads to the construction site. These external logistics hubs will minimise impact on local communities, maximise efficiency, and create jobs and economic opportunities across the UK. Works in both the external logistics hubs and the Heathrow site will happen in phases and will take place 24 hours a day to deliver the project as quickly as possible. And as part of these expansion plans, Heathrow's runway operations will change significantly. Currently, Heathrow alternates its 2 runways between arrivals and departures to provide regular noise respite for local communities. With the introduction of a 3rd runway, operations will shift to a new model, with 1 runway for arrivals, another for departures, and the 3rd operating in mixed mode, handling both arrivals and departures. The new alternation pattern will operate on a 4-day cycle, rotating the roles of each runway to provide periods of respite. To address noise concerns, Heathrow will also implement a formal ban on scheduled night flights between 11 PM and 5:30 AM, rather than the current voluntary commitment not to schedule flights between these times. Additionally, Heathrow is proposing a managed preference system instead of the existing westerly preference for flight operations. When there are strong winds present, Heathrow must operate takeoffs and landings into the wind. And since the prevailing wind direction is from the west, the airport most commonly operates westerly operations. However, when winds are light, Heathrow can choose which direction they operate. In the past, westerly operations were always prioritised, but now a managed preference system has been proposed. This would involve changing the direction of arriving and departing aircraft based on a set of criteria designed to limit overall noise effects on communities and to help deliver predictable periods of noise relief. A managed preference system would achieve a balance between minimising the total number of people affected by aircraft noise, a fairer share of arriving and departing aircraft, and the most efficient operation for the airport. But everything hasn't exactly gone to plan. Since Heathrow's expansion proposal was first submitted to the government in May 2003, the plans have been approved and then completely scrapped 3 times, largely due to ongoing protests and legal challenges. Protesters argue that the opening of a 3rd runway will cause an unacceptable level of pollution, and that these proposals contradict the UK's commitment to reducing emissions and achieving net zero by 2050. Locals have also raised concerns about increased aircraft noise, particularly for the residents of West and Central London. Regardless of the new runway alteration system previously mentioned, they argue that the expansion will result in a permanent loss of respite from noise pollution.
The numbers of people affected by noise, just with 2 runways, is more than the numbers affected by Paris Charles de Gaulle, Amsterdam, Munich, Frankfurt and Madrid put together.
The relocation of communities, particularly in planned demolition villages like Harmondsworth and Longford, was also met with significant backlash. In addition to protests, the project has been subject to many significant legal battles. In 2020, the UK Court of Appeal ruled that the government's approval of the runway is illegal due to failure to consider the UK's obligations under the 2015 Paris Agreement, which calls for limiting the increase in global temperatures to 1.5 degrees Celsius. However, just a year later, this decision was overturned by the Supreme Court, allowing the project to move forward once again. And in January 2025, Chancellor Rachel Reeves officially approved the project, saying that an expansion of Heathrow was necessary to strengthen the UK economy, as well as endorsing potential expansions at London's secondary Gatwick and Luton airports. So, Heathrow's 3rd runway is one of the most ambitious and controversial infrastructure projects in the UK's history. If completed, it promises to transform the country's aviation industry, increasing capacity, boosting the economy, and securing Heathrow's place as a leading global hub. However, the project faces significant challenges, from environmental concerns and legal battles to logistical complexities in one of the world's busiest airports. So, after decades of debate, Heathrow is finally preparing for takeoff. The question is, will it reach the skies or be grounded once again? One thing is for certain, the future of UK aviation is about to change forever. If you enjoyed this video and love seeing how the world's biggest airports are built, please consider subscribing to Airside Vision.